So today I'm going to tell the story of my first big vision breakthrough. This happened when I was in my 20s and I was visiting Seattle, Washington, and I saw a flyer at the University of Washington for natural vision improvement. And I called the number and made an appointment and went in and met a man named Paul Anderson who had an office there near the University of Washington. Paul was one of the nicest people I've ever met, one of the kindest, one of the most gentle, and immediately on walking into his office, I felt tremendously at ease. And he sat me down and he said, "Okay, well," he explained. Well, I don't know if he explained his kind of what was going on to me first. Maybe not. Maybe he just said to me, but he did say to me at some point, he said, "Okay, Kevin, now I want you just to count backwards from 20." And so I did. And he said, "Okay, Kevin, I want you to count backwards from 20 again." And I did. And then he said, "Okay, now look over there on the wall at the eye chart." And I did. And I could read the bottom line on the eye chart. Well, that line was 2015 or 2020. And my vision at the time was 2400 in each eye, which meant that normally I could only read the top line of the eye chart well. I might be able to read the second line, not so well. Well, this was astounding. It just blew me away. And it only lasted for a few seconds, maybe 2 or 3 seconds. But very surely and very clearly, I could read 2020 for about that long. And then actually what happened is I immediately kind of got frightened or tense because it was like so extraordinary. It's hard to explain, but it was just like so unlike who I thought of myself to be. I didn't think of myself as somebody who could see 2020. I thought of myself as somebody who was almost blind without glasses. And it was shocking. So anyway, tension came in, and then after a couple seconds, all I could read was the top line on the eye chart, and so I think I was looking to Paul for an explanation of how that happened, and he said, "All I did was take your mind out of its state of chronic strain long enough that you could relax mentally. And when you can release mental strain, you can see perfectly." And then he explained to me sort of the theory that he was working on, which had been developed by a man named William Bates, who was an ophthalmologist who lived in the 1920s and 30s. And Bates, is probably considered the father of natural vision recovery. And he lived right at the time when glasses were becoming widely prescribed and they were becoming the economic engine of making a living as an ophthalmologist. William Bates taught at an ophthalmology school where that was happening, but Bates was a curious and a scientific mind, and he wanted to know, well, why does vision go bad? And how can it become good again? And if you can lose your vision, why can't you gain it back again? How could you get it naturally without wearing these glasses, on your nose? And so he studied human eyes. He measured them. He looked into people's eyes with his scientific instruments and into animals' eyes, and while they were looking at things and accommodating. And when he developed this theory, and I haven't read extensively about Bates, so I'm recounting what Paul told me. He developed this theory that poor vision is caused by mental strain, and he actually was able to prove that that was the case, to himself anyway, by helping people recover sharp vision by learning to release mental strain. Well, his theory ran counter to the theory at the time. I think the theory at that time, like it has been up almost until the present, was that the quality of your vision is due to the shape of your eyeballs, and it has nothing to do with your mind. And he was eventually kicked out of the ophthalmology school where he taught for promoting this natural vision stuff. And he spent the rest of his life teaching people how to recover natural vision, how to recover sharp eyesight. And he wrote many journals, regular journals, documenting his work and people that he'd worked with. And those are all available now and can be read if you're interested. But anyway, Paul explained this all to me, and he said, basically, the way to recover sharp vision is to learn to release mental strain. And so that was profound for me, and it really resonated with me. I think that, I felt that was right, that I did have a lot of mental strain. And and I had seen very clearly that it was possible for me to see 20/20. So I signed up and I began seeing Paul on a regular basis. And and I should say, I couldn't see 20/20 after that 3 seconds while I was in his office. He might have even tried the same relaxation exercise with me, but I was probably prepared for it this time, and it had caught me by surprise. And I think, and then when I went home that night, I couldn't do it. I couldn't repeat it, and so on my own, I couldn't get 20/20 vision, and I think it was just because my mind, it had been shocked by seeing that I could, and somehow it was afraid of this person who saw 20/20 because it didn't know itself to be that. And I think it just kind of got tense around the activity of trying to see 20/20. And that can happen when you test yourself. You create mental tension, and so testing yourself can work against your natural vision improvement. Anyway, I saw Paul over the next few years, and he showed me how to do this on my own, and I successively had more and more success at getting short periods of 20/20 vision. And I'll tell more of the story in another video.